We're going to get this thing started right away. But before we do, because this is live streaming on Twitch, I need you all to be quiet for just 1 second.
Hey everybody! I think we can get a little louder for Amphibia. Come on. Woo! Yeah! Welcome to the Gallery Nucleus Amphibia Art Exhibit and Fan Celebration. I am your host, Kevin Williams, better known online as Ostrich Fox on the Roundtable. You may have heard of me. We have a channel dedicated to animation. We love talking about Amphibia, Owl House, you know how it go. But we're here to celebrate all of these amazing people who have made 3 incredible seasons come to life, or hop to life. We're joined with creator, voice of also Chuck, Frobo, that one who let them inside Newtopia, Matt Brawley.
I'm trying to remember a line from that Newt guy where he says, sorry, Newtopia's closed. That's it, that's the voice. Yeah.
Then we have voice director of the show, who also voices just around Disney and I assume animation in general. You may know her as Basha on the Owl House, Eden Regal! Woo!
Hey everybody, I'm so excited. Woo!
And then we have the voice of Hopadiah Planter, voice acting legend. You may also know him as the voice of Goofy, Bill Farmer.
Thank you. Wow, what a crowd.
And then we have the voice of Sprig, Justin Felbinger.
Thank you.
Voice of Polly, Amanda Layton. I swapped her name, I'm sorry.
Hey guys, what's up?
Sorry, I'm also looking at my notes. And then we have character designer, Kat Sukiman. And then art director, Sanjay Lee. And art director, Amy Hong. Now, to kick things off, I know you guys probably waited in line for a very long time, so we have a special treat for y'all. Nothing clip related. But do you want to take the lead, Matt?
So we have a very short table read for you today with the characters. Having these amazing voice actors together, we never were not going to have you hear them be their characters. And so we've got this little piece for you. We're gonna stumble our way through it. Please be gentle, but there's actually a line in here for all of you. And so I'll give you a cue when it comes up, all right? It'll be really clear, no worries, no worries. But how it's gonna work is I will read the stage direction and everyone else, well, Bill, Amanda, and Justin will play their characters, but everyone else is sort of playing themselves. So here we go, all right? It's kind of a weird piece. It's maybe the weirdest thing I've ever written. It's a little Twilight Zone-y, okay? But see if you can use your imaginations and go back to season 3A, where the Planters are kind of palling around in Los Angeles with Anne and her family. Here we go, all right? You guys ready for this? All right. Table read time, baby. Exterior, Alhambra, California. While on an errand with Anne and her family, Hop Hop, Sprig, and Polly have wandered away from the group. They stumble into Gallery Nucleus, thinking it's a boba shop.
Boba, boba, boba.
Shh,
Kids, I don't think this is a Bubba shop.
The planters gaze at the strangeness around them. The art books for sale, the gathering of people, and the strange table set up in the middle of the room.
Whoa, what is this place?
And who are all these people?
I think I know what this is. It's a panel of some kind. These people must be in show business. Come on, keep your disguises on and let's check it out. Maybe I can make some industry contacts.
Is that such a good idea? Anne told us to keep a low profile, and Mr. X is still out there looking for us.
Stop being such a worrywart. Sprig, it's not like they're broadcasting this on the internet.
The frogs make their way to the front of the panel and sit in the 3 empty seats next to the talent. The audience is in shock, seeing these characters suddenly before them. Kevin, the moderator, being a true professional, just goes with it.
Oh, hey, folks, it looks like this panel just got a little bigger.
Hiya, friends. Name's Hoppadiah Planner, and these are my grandkids, Sprig and Polly. We're just tourists from, out of town.
What is all of this?
Yeah, what's the fuss?
The panelists all blink at each other, still in shock at the fictional characters walking and talking in front of them. Art director Sanjay Lee takes the lead.
We're artists. This is a panel for a show we work on.
A show? Now we're talking. Is it a film noir, crime drama, violent stuff?
Art director Amy Huang answers the question innocently.
It's an animated show.
Animation, cartoons! Anne told me all about these. They're beautiful works of art for all ages, not just children.
Can I get an amen?
Hi, lady. What do you do on the cartoon? Oh, I'm the voice director. I work with the actors and help craft their performances.
Did you say actors? Like famous ones? Anyone I'd know?
Eden stares at Hop Hop. This is just too fucking weird.
Sure. We've worked with big actors like Keith David, Brenda Song,
She takes a stab.
Bill Farmer.
Oh, my frog! Bill Farmer, the voice of Goofy! Goodness, you're lucky.
Sprig turns to character designer Kat Sukiman, noticing her name tag.
Hi, Cat. I like your name. I only know one cat named Domino, and oh boy, does she scratch. What do you do?
I'm the character designer. I draw all sorts of funny characters and sometimes put them in different outfits.
Okay, strangest thing you've ever drawn. Go.
Kat thinks.
Your grandfather in a leotard.
Sprig stares at Kat, confused. That was a strange answer. And suddenly, he gets the chills.
Ugh. Something's fishy here.
Polly also gets a weird feeling and starts to really notice the room around her. The artwork on the walls, the little figurines and models in the glass case. She sees locations she recognizes, characters she's interacted with. She gasps in horror.
Guys, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Sprig and Hop Hop notice too.
Whoa! Oh, no, that's your line.
Whoa, is that a picture of our house in Wortwood? Is that a photo of us framed on the wall? How do you have these things? What's going on?
Hop Hop slaps his forehead.
Kids, I figured it out. These aren't industry insiders. They're cultists. Sick creeps who have been worshiping us in private, keeping track of our every move.
Technically not wrong.
Sprig was right. Coming here was a horrible mistake. We've got to escape go, Gallery.
Right.
You don't gotta tell me twice.
The frogs throw over their chairs and make a mad dash for the front door of the gallery.
We're almost there, kids. Keep running. Don't look back.
Just then, they are intercepted by creator and executive producer Matt Brawley, who stops them. He's sweaty, nervous, and definitely not wearing enough deodorant. Oh my God! Hop up, Sprig, Polly, how is this possible? Is this some kind of rift in the space-time continuum? Magic? Witchcraft?
This dweeb is blocking our path.
Quick, Sprig. Tongue beam. Fire.
On it.
Both Hop Up and Sprig launch their tongues at max velocity. Well, whatever the reason, hey, since you're already here, can I get you three to sign some Matt gets hit in the face like a slow-mo shot from Kung Fu Panda and is knocked out cold. The planters burst out of the doors of Gallery Nucleus, catching their breath, the nightmare finally over.
Well, that's an existential crisis waiting to happen.
Can we agree to never mention that to Anne? Or even talk about it again? Like, ever?
Done and done. Now come on, kids. Let's find a real Bubba place.
Boba! Boba! Boba!
The planters walk into the sunset, chanting the whole way, where they immediately get lost and wander the city of Los Angeles for 8 hours. Until Anne finally finds them and takes them home. The end.
That was fantastic. What implications will this adventure have on the overarching? But no, that was really fun. I think the planters will be traumatized for life, but they'll appreciate this looking back on it. Next up, though, we have some questions, and then I have some questions that I've prepared. Then I believe we're going to open it up to both the Twitch chat and the public. So, yeah, let's just get started.
Let's hear your questions.
Give me 2 seconds. You know how iPhones are. All right, my first question is for everyone. Were there any ways you felt like you grew alongside a character on the show, and for the voice actors, the characters you voiced? Like, for example, just to set the stage, I feel like I really resonated with Sasha's character and her growth throughout the series, just because growing up, I definitely had anger issues, and I definitely think online, I had fun being a cyberbully. But when you recognize the ways that your attitude can affect others, especially people you care about, you want to make a change for the better. And seeing Sasha make that change was highly satisfying, and it greatly resonated with me. So yeah, Matt, are there any characters that you felt like you grew alongside with?
Yeah, awesome. And we'll just like go down the line then. So like I'll go and then one by one we'll answer. But for me, like I relate highly with season 3 Anne, who has this vibe of like, let's just get the job done. You know what I mean? Like, and that's sort of like, right now we're finishing the last 2 episodes, and I'm really like, let's do this thing. You know what I mean? Let's slam dunk this ball and go home. So yeah, I really, really feel deeply connected to Anne. Eden?
This is such an interesting question because like I think like part of what I do is that like I was I'm going along with the growth of each of the characters. I mean, so it's hard to pick, but I think probably I relate to Anne also the most in that she starts kind of. She just can't handle any responsibility. She gets Sprig into tons of trouble. She's very selfish. And then I loved tracking her course toward really caring about the planters, becoming their hero, fighting for them, and taking a lot of responsibility, and growing her heart growing along with as she got accepted into the family, and so I really relate to and love Anne's arc.
Well, when you do a character, I think you just got to really find those parts of a character that you do resonate with. With the Hop Pop, I spent 12 years in Texas, which is why I kind of was playing around with the accents and the Texas accents. Personality-wise, for some reason, One-Eyed Wally is really... he resonates with me quite a bit.
Are you secretly rich?
I love it. Huh?
Are you secretly rich? That was like Wally's whole thing.
No. Not in that way, but...
I always thought Wally was like the most messed up character because he's like pretending to be poor. I was like,
I love this veneer of being wacky and crazy and happy-go-lucky, but underneath he's a militant, and he's like he's got a secret life, and so that's what we actors do, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean, man, I've really grown up with Sprig. Like when I first started voicing him, I was in freshman in high school and everything, and now I'm a freshman in college now, so it's like a lot has changed, and man, I just, like, all the growth that Sprig as a character has experienced, like, I can really relate that to my life. And, finding friendship and, different hardships that he's gone through and just, like, adventure in his life. And so I can really, really, resonate with that. But it's just crazy how much he's gone from the very beginning with Sprig Planner, put her there, and now to where he is now. It's just really great character development. I definitely resonate with that, so...
Kind of like how Bill was saying, how when you find a character, you find yourself in whatever you're playing, and it really helps kind of like bring a character to life, even if you don't like totally identify, I'm not a tadpole who lives in a bucket, but but I see a lot of myself in Polly, and I guess a way I kind of relate a little bit is, I'm short. Like everybody always made fun of, everybody always made fun of my height and stuff, growing up. So I was always like used to being, like the short one in the class. People, would put their arm on my head. So I'm used to being like the little one in the group, and it's been really fun to kind of see the development of Polly and see like what she's become.
You got your character that I resonate with. It feels weird saying that because I feel like we work on them and we feel like they're parents, We kind of watch them grow up throughout the 3 seasons, and like me and Sanjay got to be like working there the whole 3 seasons, so we watched them. Like Anne was growing up like really selfish, and then she was like, like such a brat, right? But now she's like grown up, and I feel like really touched by that. Like even just working on it, sometimes I'm drawing scenes and I'm like, oh, they're really grown up. They're like made so much changes. I'm so proud of them. That's really how I feel when I work on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Kat, but if I had to pick a character, it'd be Anne. Because like just throughout the 3 seasons, like Anne's journey from just this unfamiliar town, meeting this family, and being part of a family, like I was having like a personal journey of my own of getting married and starting a family of my own and having a baby daughter. That was like a whole nother journey. I could definitely resonate to Anne, just like going through season 2, all that road trip, and just season 3 of like going back to Earth. All those like crazy happenings I really felt like I could really resonate with all those like troubles, like happenings, like great moments. Like I could definitely relate to that. So I think I've just grown so much along with Anne, just along the whole way. Yeah.
I think probably to be not interesting Anne also, because like because I came in season 2 and like I kind of related with her journey of like kind of trying to figure out like this whole world that you're into, and just like kind of growing along with her, but also like Polly for that chaotic nature.
Yeah, awesome. Something I wanted to actually, I guess building off from this question, just say about Amphibia and its characters, something that I really enjoyed and I wanted to give props to was how these characters aren't infallible. They are, you know, not even just always making mistakes, but something I always respected about the show is that, you know, whether if it's Hop Hop hiding the calamity box from Anne, or you know, Sasha and Marcy both having their own ulterior motives throughout season 2, you see these characters do what they think they need to do in these very complicated situations, but the show plays it straight. Like, for example, with the dinner in Battle of the Bands, you don't really have any moments of like Sasha and Marcy, you know, being like, I'm gonna betray them, you know, it's, they're just interacting with their friends. And I feel like that's so true to life. Like when you're hiding secrets, you don't make it obvious, and the show never makes it obvious. And I just always really enjoyed that. So yeah, moving forward from that, I have a question for Bill, Justin, Amanda, Eden, and Matt. What traits are brought out of you only when playing this character? So like when it's Hop Hop time, what's something that you feel like, oh, this really drew this this quality in me that I now only really bring out when I'm playing Hop Hop, Sprig, etc.
Well, for me, anytime I voice like a character or an incid, it was really important for me for it not to spike. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want it to stand out. And the only reason I played Chuck is because like I was doing a very specific impression of like the director who like came up with that like joke, whose name was Burt Yoon, and he was such an interesting, like very specific guy. And I was like, there ain't no way we're getting this unless like I'm doing it. So like that was like the whole thing. But like yeah, I mean for me, it really was a priority to kind of like, ooh, gotta stay in the periphery, you know?
Okay. Well, you may know that I voiced Maggie in season 1. So I loved voicing this character because I immediately was like, I completely related to her, just in that hurt people, you know? And I loved being like a mean girl and getting to call Anne Boob Choy, because I feel like that's like really iconic. But I also just like, you know, putting on the brains of the different characters as I get to work with them and like, like tracking where they are in the story and like, you know, how they're feeling in any particular time. Like I loved working with each of these like totally brilliant actors, and Matt too.
No. And by the way, so like Eden as the voice director was really, really like crafting those performances, and like we couldn't have made the show without her. She's just, can we get a round of applause actually for Eden? She's amazing, incredible at what she does. Like your favorite performances, she helped.
That's very kind of you to say. I think we all just saw them cold read and be perfect, so I don't really know. Like mostly I'm just like a sounding board or whatever. But yeah, it was at least fun for me to in each session be like, okay, where are they in their journey, and what are they feeling today, and what are they thinking, and like how insecure is Sprig right now, and how not insecure is Polly ever. So it was really fun to sort of embody, you know, to get to like go along the path with each of them.
It's kind of interesting that you tie your emotions to the character, and therefore when you do the voice, it kind of takes you to those emotions that character has. When I first read for Hop Pop, he was kind of just uptight, kind of angry that, you know, Anna's there, is going to throw her out every day. So I kind of thought he's kind of uptight, and so he's kind of pinched in the back, and then I put the Texas accent on him. But when I do that now, you feel kind of uptight, you know. And he was a lot meaner in kind of the first part of the first season. He was just kind of
in the
tolerating,
pilot, in the pilot too.
Yes.
He was really mean in the pilot.
Yes.
He was like, God damn it, Anne! Like that was like the whole.
And we soften him up, and vocally, instead of quite as tight, you get into those kind of softer things. And the love that he has for Anne, and that's grown over the seasons, that he really thinks of her as his daughter and just loves her truly. And hopefully, if you can have that come out through your acting and through your voice, that's because we only have our voice to do all that emotional stuff. And that's the hardest part of it. But once you get into the voice kind of leads the emotion, and the emotion kind of sells the character, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it was like the huge thing with Sprig was the energy, matching that crazy energy that Sprig has. I remember for the audition, when I sent in one of my auditions, I'm working, reading the character description and everything. I think one of the first lines is like, "It's 5 a.m. everyone." Everyone, remembers.
Don't remind me. Oh my God.
And it was like super, super energetic, and I was like, I love this, I think about, I'm not a super, like overly energetic person, but when I get into Sprig, it's like I can, go a lot, and I think Eden really helped bring that out with me, especially in the first season with all his energy. I mean, he matured a little bit over the next seasons, but man, yeah, and just Eden really helped with getting all the different emotions out in certain scenes when, like some a little more mature emotion was required, and so I had a lot of fun playing around with that. But definitely that overly exaggerated tone that Sprig has was a lot of fun working with and getting that out. So yeah.
So we don't get this all the time, but it's always fun where you get artwork for the audition, and it really kind of helps capturing what the person is going to sound like. Like when I saw a little, picture of Polly, I was like, oh, she's got a little bow, she's round, she's so cute. I'm like, oh, she's got to sound super cute, right? But then I started seeing this really like mischievous side of her, and that's, I feel like, what really kind of made Polly like a little bit different than the way that she looked, and that's kind of like where she started getting like this gravelly kind of like like that's like I feel like was the niche for Polly kind of, and that's kind of like how like you find your voice too, is like you see these things where you're like, okay, this is what the character looks like, but then you're like, what's really gonna make them stand out, like what's their personality, and then that kind of just like comes through your voice, and it all blends together.
Oh yeah, I like this question. For Matt, Sanjay, Amy, and Kat, the first half of season 3 emulated so much of our modern day culture perfectly. What are elements of California and the internet that you knew had to be included? Like, for example, you guys nailed just like the YouTube homepage and like the thumbnails, the video titles, all of that was like the most accurate depiction of the internet I've seen in a cartoon.
So that's a two-parter. First, California and LA specifically. LA has such a unique beauty, and I feel like I've seen cities in lots of shows. Lots of shows have cities. It's nothing new. But for our LA, we really wanted to capture something very specific, which is like this color palette. And Amy and Sanjay will speak more to it, but we really wanted it to pop and just be like, that's Amphibia's LA, you know what I mean? Like, that's not just like a cartoon city, you know what I mean? I love Sheep in the Big City, I love it. But we really wanted this city to look like it was as rich as Amphibia as well. Because actually something we did purposefully in season 1 was that Earth always looked really drab, because we really wanted to communicate that like Anne was really coming into her own in this world, and the vibrancy of the world around her was kind of like helping make that point. But then when it's like, okay, but we're gonna have a whole half season in LA, this place gotta look dope, you know what I mean? So like, we really kind of brought it out and tried to find, we looked so hard to find the beauty in LA. No, I'm just kidding. LA's gorgeous, you know what I mean? And I feel like they did a great job bottling it up. And with the internet, the whole challenge was exactly that, because you've seen the internet represented in cartoons and movies and TV shows, and you know when it feels like rote. You know when it feels like, this is like maybe an older person. And so like we just really wanted to get specific. And all of us are crazy YouTube nuts. Like all of us work and are watching YouTube at the same time, and like, you know what I mean? So I don't think it was hard for the art team to kind of narrow in on that. One of my favorite details though was like an apology video. There was like and I was like, that's the funniest shit I've ever seen, because it's just like it's so true. It's just, and it was like Amy Chan apologizes, and I don't know if the board artist, I think the board artist Danny Ducker added that. I could be wrong. But it was just so specific. You know, when you see something specific, you're always like brings a tear to your eye. You're like, that's true, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that stuff. Art folks?
Yeah, for LA and like the Earth stuff, I think it was mostly, we definitely had the lead from the writers and the story artists of like having the story like take place in such specific locations that we could all relate to. And we were just basically like building the sets for those characters and the stories that happened there. And I remember us like specifically looking into, because everybody's here and it's all we see every day. So I think we're just constantly inspired. Like the wonderful Brittany Thorson, our one of our layout designers, she like just went around driving and took a bunch of photos of LA and just dropped it on our folders. And like, yeah, like we should just get constantly inspired by our surroundings. And I think we were able to like put in like parts of Pasadena, like parts of Glendale, like the mall area. Like I think, yeah, if you really look for it, you could definitely see our inspirations, like super specific inspirations that just are all around us every day. And I think all the designers just had a blast just trying to capture those moments in our part of our real lives. And for the internet also, it was mostly like also like the story artists just like giving us like super funny, crazy ideas, and just us fleshing it out and just giving it a coat of paint where it's all super specific and relatable.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And then also on the color side, we wanted LA to feel really bright and fresh in contrast to like the cozy feeling of like, Wartwood and like this like really fantastical place. So like Matt had brought up like having like LA be the idealized version with like, no fire.
Yet.
But yeah, no forest fires. And we also kind of wanted to capture that like bright like sea breeze vibe of like the Santa Monica Pier when you're just like, oh, this is LA, awesome. But yeah, and then internet, just throwing in a lot of like memes and stuff that like we could kind of like throw in color side, like anything we could reference from like anime to anything like that. And Matt and like the entire team is so good with that, so pretty awesome.
Somebody like a board artist dropped in like literally that like weird 3D Kermit dancing, like, and like you just like you get a storyboard and you're looking at that and you're like, that's very hilarious, but you're just like, well, I can't use this, you know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? And so then the design team, Kat Tsukiman, specifically created this really weird character called Bibsy. It's very strange, and like I challenge you to like look all around, especially 3A. There's like Bibsy all over the place, and it actually got to a point where I was like, you guys, you need to bring it down, because like it's just everywhere. And I was like, it's funny, but like nobody knows what this is. Like, but he's this really funny like cartoon rabbit that was supposedly our version of like Mickey Mouse in the world. Like they created like Bibsy World. There was a guy with like a Bibsy World t-shirt. It was super strange. But like these are the kinds of things that like as a crew, it's like we have internal memes, you know what I mean? And that was one of them, which was just like Bibsy, like all over the place.
Yeah, I feel like that comes from like storyboards, because we saw Kermit and we're like, okay, we definitely can't use Kermit. And then the drawings that the storyboard artist did was kind of like a mix of everything, right? Like Bugs Bunny, Kermit, Mickey Mouse, like all these things. So I was like, you know what, let's just mash it up. Let's put Kermit together with Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse. Let's just like do it. And I was like, okay, this guy's really weird. But surely it's fine. Like, it's just a one-off bit. And then I showed it to Matt, and he was like, Kat, what is this? Why did you do this? Like, what?
Can you draw Bibsy and show us?
Oh my God, do I still remember?
If you can't, I'll take a stab.
Such a weirdo. He's so creepy. Like.
We made like an emote too.
I feel like he's. No, you know what? No. His face is creepier than this. Wait. Like literally, like, yeah. Like really, yeah. It's like, oh, how do we make Kermit a rabbit, but still keep his face the Kermit face that we love? But it's so creepy. Oh my God, Matt, why did you do this? Why did you make me do this?
Yeah.
Well, I'd buy 10 of him.
We had a huge blast, like putting him in little, backgrounds. But to get back to the question, when I was looking at the meetings, like the review meetings, I was like, wow, LA looks so beautiful in our show. Because we were all stuck inside during the pandemic, so I was like, wow, I can't go outside, but at least I can see this artwork, and it's beautiful. Yeah, and I think we just really missed LA and wanted to be outside, and that's why the art looks so beautiful, because we're have nostalgia for the outside world. And I think for characters, for sure, we were trying to make a point, all of us, to add diversity, because LA is a very diverse city. So we wanted to make sure that there's a lot of diversity in our city, and the people, and the incidentals. I also want people to because whenever I walk around LA, everybody's so stylish that I just want to put that in there too. And that was I think that was what I keep in mind, to try to make it feel real, at least the way I remember LA being.
Yeah, that actually perfectly goes into my next question, which is for everyone. What's been the challenges of doing the production remotely versus working in studio? So whether that's for art, recording, just in general, how is that? I guess you kind of already answered how it kind of impacted your inspiration a little bit. Oh, okay. But yeah.
I did not enjoy working from home, working remote. We had such a great kind of group energy, our team specifically, and creative as well. And after a pitch, storyboard pitch, people would congregate and discuss and oh, what'd you like about it, and what didn't work for you, and honestly, it's hard to craft that same space digitally. You know what I mean? You can try to emulate it, but really you pitch it and you're like, God, I hope someone tells me if that sucks. You know what I mean? Because normally you would hear about it. Over the week at lunch, people would talk about it. They'd workshop it together, and I really do miss that about being in an office and being with people. There are many advantages to working from home, but for me, as someone who loves to work with a team, I thought it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it was a big old change, and I really missed seeing. This is the first time we've seen each other in person. I mean, maybe other people have, but I haven't seen these people, and it's crazy that they exist. Not as disembodied voices, but so shortly after everything shut down, I had absolutely no idea how we were gonna do it, and the heroic people at Outlet Audio and Disney Casting pulled it together, and also these amazing fine actors who were like, you want me to get equipment? I'll get equipment. Bill will tell you about his home setup, which is primo, but it was already, it's difficult because it would be lovely if we got all the actors in a room together so that they could play off each other and do the things as scenes. And so it was hard even before the shutdown to have everybody by themselves and try to give them context and get read-ins and stuff like that. But then when we were all at home, it felt like we were doing it in space, we just felt so disconnected. And so it was only through working together and building off of our relationships and also our extreme love of the show that we were able to sort of figure out our way through. And I think we did a really good job. It was really incredible.
For me, it actually turned out to be not too much of a change because it was third season generally. And the first two seasons, we were in the studio together. We got to know everybody. We got to know the characters much more than we did in third season. And my son is an audio engineer and went to LA recording school, so he's Pro Tools certified, all of that. So I didn't have to worry about that. He was up there running the sessions like an engineer would be at one of the other studios, and I'm watching people on the monitor, just on a Zoom link. I'm watching Eden, and we direct and record that way. But if I hadn't had that background of the first two seasons of really learning Wartwood and what this is all about, because you got to kind of have that in your head. It would have been much more difficult, I think, for a first season show than it was third season. But it's much easier, you know, in your own house if you can go down in a studio. And my son's a drummer, so he's got all these microphones and preamps and everything. And so we had the equipment, and it wasn't that much of a stretch. In fact, it was kind of fun. I gave him a job for a while, so, you know. So it wasn't, but nothing replaces, you know, face-to-face. Even if it's through a glass of a control room, you know, it's still much better than via Zoom. And even ADR, which is, you know, we're putting in new little lines to existing footage, changing a line, adding a line here and there. That worked out pretty easily, actually, for me, because, like I say, I raised my own engineer. So.
Yeah, now I wasn't Pro Tools certified, but but it was definitely an interesting little thing we had to do, because you know, you really have to become your own engineer almost. Like you got to set up everything, set up the mic and all that. And thankfully, I had just gotten a little booth. Me and my dad converted a little closet into a booth right before the pandemic started, so it worked out pretty well. But yeah, I mean, like everyone said, it really is a lot different than being there face to face. You don't get that same energy. But I think everyone was able to pull it off really well and work with what we had, and we're able to let the show still go on. So yeah.
Yeah, I was not ready. No, I'm kidding. No, but it's true that we all kind of had to learn how to become our own engineers, which I think now is a really good thing. Because beforehand, I mean, I would get, I don't know about you guys, but my agent had a booth, you know, so I would just go to my agency. I would get like 10 auditions. I would go in, knock them all out at once, and then I go home. So learning how to do all of this at home has really helped with, you know, being able to, you know, do other records at home, other auditions. It gives you kind of like this knowledge and freedom of like, oh, okay, I can do this too, you know, but same thing. I mean, it's so amazing being able to go into work and see everybody, and I know that we all like really missed that. I'm sure everybody missed that, you know, and so it's good because we had a learning experience come out of it, but I'm happy that now we're able to kind of like come back in and see everybody to a capacity, so. That's good.
Also, I should mention that when we started the pandemic, Amanda had this like helmet thing that she used. She would have to climb into the helmet and record. It was amazing. And then halfway through, she got this incredible, super amazing upgrade, and now her booth is pink. Yes. Because all her characters are pink.
Yes. All my characters are pink, so the whole inside is pink panels, and I got like a real booth, which is amazing. But it's really funny because during one of our records, that little like space helmet that I was using, it fell on me, and poor Eden, you're like, oh no, what's happening? And I'm like,
I thought she was dead.
Yeah. All you can hear is me going, oh no! And then there's a crash.
There was an off-screen cat sound, you know, like, like yeah.
Yes. It was like, what's happening? And I'm like, I'm okay. And like, everything was fine, but yeah.
Do we remember how it? How do I? Working from home, it was tough because we can't really like see each other. And I think the best thing about working in animation is like being able to work with really amazing people and artists, and like feeling the camaraderie, being in the same team. And then we just like had none of that anymore. But I think we're lucky because our crew was like really active online and on Slack, our like company messaging system. So I feel like we still have the camaraderie even if we're apart. You know, I think being in this crew really kind of helped me go through the pandemic.
Yeah, I think what I remember the most is like the earlier days where we were just sent back home. Some people didn't have hardware, equipment, like a chair, even a working desk. So that was like very challenging for I think all of us trying to like figure that out. But eventually, I think people kind of did tried extra hard to be super extra professional and just kind of get up and running and just kind of do everything they can to just go on continue production on a stable level. But it was again stressful for all of us.
Yeah. At first I thought it was super great because I was like, I'll roll up, my pajamas and just get to work. Awesome. But then I think I really started missing the idea of camaraderie with people and just being able to peek over at their computer and be like, oh, that's so cool. Maybe I could add that into a background or something, just little elements. And then also just kind of fostering an idea of teamwork within a team that you've never, or some people have never quite met because there's new hires. But everyone's so great and fantastic, and then sharing memes on Slack, that definitely helped bring everyone together, so.
All right, I have a question I just thought of for Matt. What was the process behind creating the song Heartstopper? Because I listened to it the other day, and it's unironically a banger. That just feels like an actual summer hit.
Heartstomper. The writer, Todd McClintock, kind of wrote the lyrics for this song, Heartstomper, but no melody. Okay? So it was in the script that Sasha would have this song, and then at the same time, we were trying to develop a character theme for her, because for whatever reason, just the order of operations and how these characters were introduced and what was going on, we introduced Anne's theme, that's the end credits, and we had Marcy's theme, you know what I mean, that TJ Hill did such an amazing job when we introduced Marcy, but Sasha never really got her theme or her moment because she was always a baddie, you know what I mean, in season one. So TJ kind of came up with the melody, which was awesome, and then was able to retrofit it to those lyrics that Todd McClintock had wrote, and then putting it together, it was this great kind of, I'm trying to remember the order of things. Yeah, so Third Temple, you hear Sasha's theme in there for the first time, and then right after that, you hear Heartstomper in Battle of the Bands, and I was so, pleased and proud of fans who were like, that's her theme! You know what I mean? And to me, that's such a, I love musical motifs. I love them. You know what I mean? I go bananas for them. And so, I've always, you guys know Chrono Trigger. Have you guys anyone played Chrono Trigger? Every character has this theme song, and they're bangers. Every single one is crazy good and not very complicated, but I love the calling card, the musical calling card. And so for Heartstomper, that's how it came about. And I'm super happy, and Anna Akana just fucking busted it out, because she's already a singer, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was a joy.
Yeah, that song, it just rocks, absolutely. I have a question for everyone. If you could have one Amphibia spinoff around any character, what would it be? So to start, I would pitch Sasha in the Big City, which would take place a few years in the future. Sasha's in college. She still has her two swords, and she's in competition to become her college campus's queen bee. But she's the only one with two swords, so I think it's gonna be a pretty easy competition.
I don't want to spoil anything or set anything up, you know what I mean? But I really do think that Polly is a great character who, has so much room to grow, and I think that seeing her adventures would be really fun. So sorry.
What about a Mrs. Croker prequel?
Yes. Hot.
Yes, where we see, the lady has had adventures, and I think maybe that guy that wanted to kill her, that's just the tip of the iceberg. She had people, she broke hearts, she was a spy. I don't even know what she was up to, but I want to know.
Well, I've always wanted to know the backstory of Sprig's parents, because we just really don't know anything about them other than they got killed, And but that's what I'd like to see. A little prequel going into all of that, kind of the planners at the beginning when they were seeds, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I might be a little biased, but I think something a little kind of like a prequel of Sprig, maybe like before he met Anne and all that, because we've seen some stuff of like him trying to play with other frogs and stuff and other things. So I think that would be really interesting to see, or maybe some. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but something after.
I like where your head was at, Matt, with Polly. You know, maybe some more adventures, like jumping into other worlds, other dimensions, timelines.
We had a writer, Tom McClintock, at the end of, what was it, Give a Frog a Cookie. I rarely, I'm like, hard no, like to a writer. Like, I'm rarely like, absolutely fucking not. You know what I mean? But Tom McClintock was so funny. He pitched this ending where Dr. Frakes accidentally got like zapped to like another dimension, like at the end of Frog a Cookie. Yeah, well, listen to this. So I remember he was like pitching it. I'm like, okay. And he was like, so she wakes up and she finds herself in Marsupia, a land. And I was just like, no, hard no. Absolutely never, not gonna do it.
I think I'm the same. I really want to see, I love Polly, so I just want to see everything from her point of view, you know, like little adventures. I don't want to spoil, but you know, I just want to see like things from her point of view and like what she does. Yeah.
For me, I guess it's a cheat, not just one character, just the townspeople and what happened during Anne when she was on Earth, like maybe stories of their resistance, battles like with Andreas, kind of like that could be a whole show.
Yeah, I'm biased because my favorite is Polly. So, Polly and Michelangelo, what's up with that? Yeah. And then Lago and Wally, I feel like they would have a blast together. So.
Awesome. Okay, for Bill, Justin, and Amanda, do you think the Planters would get along with any of the other characters you've played?
Well, would Hop Pop get along with Goofy? I don't know. That would be an interesting.
I think they would get along.
Hey, Goofy, how you doing?
Gosh, it's nice seeing you, Hop Pop. They probably would. Yeah, they'd probably be okay.
Well, man, I don't know how I can compete with that, but man, I think, you know, I've done a lot of like little kids characters, Miles from Tomorrowland and Matodo, the little baby elephant on Lion Guard. So I think Sprig would probably match most with Matodo. You know, they're both pretty adventurous. Although Miles from Tomorrowland's pretty adventurous also. But yeah, I think they'd all get along really good and go on some cool interdimensional activities and all that stuff. So it would be pretty cool to see. So.
Okay, so I think Blossom and Poppy would get along because of scrapbooking and lists, and they're very organized. Polly's she's the wild card though. I don't know if she would really maybe they could like trade bows, like her and Blossom or something.
Connection.
Yeah.
I think she would get Blossom into a lot of chaos.
Yes. It would drive Blossom crazy.
I think Blossom would I think she would get into it, because of Polly's influence.
And the fighting, they could do like the crime fighting and everything. So that's where they would mesh. Yeah.
I would watch that crossover for sure. Yeah, for Matt, Sanjay, Amy, and Kat, Season 3 has a fantastic new opening. What was it like working on the sequence, if you did work on it? And were there any particular influences? Like, one thing I noticed was you kind of did the anime thing where there's scenes from actual episodes, but on a grand scale. Yeah.
I love that main titles, and it was boarded by Jacob Stryland, who was actually the art director of season 2. And this guy he's nutters, just absolutely talented. And he was, I think I'd like to try boarding, you know. And it's like, okay, you want to board the main titles? And he did an amazing job. Yeah, it was super anime. And the thing about that, and actually, I'm sure this is why a lot of anime does it is because when that main titles got made, we were in production on like the first 3 or 4 episodes of that season, so that's all we had. We were like, I guess this stuff will happen. You know what I mean? Because like you have to like thread this interesting balance between hypotheticals and like, you know, metaphors and like actual things that happen, like Sasha and Anne fighting with swords on the bridge with like the lightning clashing behind them. Not literal. Not literal. You know what I mean? Like, do they fight with swords in this season? 100%. But like, is it gonna look like this? I don't know. You know what I mean? So like, that's just kind of like the timeline on that. I will say, Jacob, when he did like the shot of like Sasha with the sword and she like turns around, like look like grins or whatever, he was like, it's like that shot from Pirates of the Caribbean. I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like Jack Sparrow, like the gun like turns around, like savvy or like whatever the hell. And I was like, put it in, man, it's awesome. But on the art side, man, that thing was like a banger. Like the BGs, the BGs in the season 3 main title are like some of the craziest looking BGs like on the show.
We just had such a wonderful board from Jacob. Like everything was so clear. Like we just knew what to do, and we got like extra help from Jane Bach on those main title BGs. And yeah, like we had like I remember us having like a very short little time to work on those, but as much as time we had, I think we really tried our best, and it turned out really, really great.
Yeah, we have, on the paint side, we had Charles Hilton, who's like an amazing painter, just absolutely knocked every single background like out of the park. And then we kind of wanted like the colors to kind of be a little, there's like a little link up between like the season 1 and 2 openings. So that was like super fun, and getting to play with that. Yeah. And then just, like I might say, like super animated, super epic. Yeah.
Yeah, something I love about that opening beyond the anime influence is how it does mirror the opening of the first 2 seasons. Like it opens with the box, then it shows Anne and the Planters on her episode of Amphibia. Like it's such a perfect reversal of what came before. All right, it is 4, so we are going to open it up to questions to everyone. But I do want to do some quick questions. Yeah, I just want to speed through like some of the ones I wanted to get to. For Matt, what was the inspiration behind the core?
Oh, yeah, the core. So, you know, you're always looking for your villain that is thematically tied to your characters, and so that was like a really big thing for me, where I was like, okay, what is the ultimate evil of this show? You know what I mean? What does that look like? And, you know, where we landed was this influence that was like, you know, we had this line that got eventually cut that I always really liked, where it was like, in trying to enshrine the best of us, we have preserved the worst of us. You know what I mean? And I really like how this show is about change, and it's about growth, and the core is about maintaining this sick, twisted status quo. And so, you know, I don't want to give spoilers away or anything like that, and you'll get a little bit into more of the core, but the idea that this core is like, you know, I'm gonna pick up where we left off. It's gonna be exactly the same as it was before, and everything in here is gonna be perfect. You know what I mean? So to me, the core was this nice thematic opposite to everything that the show was trying to tell you was good.
Yeah, something I really like about the core in relation to Andreas is how it really does drive home how Andreas is a parallel to Anne, kind of like what Anne could become. You have the core always in Andreas' ear, like how at the start Sasha was always in Anne's ear, always influencing Anne in toxic ways. And yeah, just to come to this point, it's almost like a no-brainer, but you never would have expected that from season 1. I mean, the first time you see the core, you're like, what is that thing? Wrong TV show.
Well, that's the thing too, is that, and the way that the information is doled out too, is just like, you know, like the execs are seeing this for the first time, and Andreas goes in the basement, he's like, okay, my lord, and there's like this giant thing with all the eyes, and it's like, you know, you can just imagine someone being like, question, you know what I mean? Like, what is that? What's going on? And so there's a lot of kind of like, trust me, like, this will pay off, it will feel good and yummy, you know what I mean, when it eventually like comes out. And it's the kind of thing too where like, you know, so there's the thematic side, but there's also like, I'm like, man, I just want to see some cool shit too, you know, so.
And then last question for everyone, what is your favorite emotional moment of the series without mentioning the finale, because obviously.
Oh my God. So I really, there's a special pose over there on the wall where the planters are hugging Anne, and it's at the end of Reunion. I love that moment. I adore it, and I think that it was, always stuck with me that like there was nothing to say or do in that moment. You know what I mean? That was it for them in this unit, and that they were going to make it together. So that's always been like a really great moment for me.
I'm still thinking, can you go?
Okay, I'm trying to think too, but one that stuck out that I loved performing in was the Zappapedes. In Suspicion Island, and Hop Pop was so full of guilt because now Polly and Sprig are fighting, and he's caused this because he stole the box and was watching all the the TV shows and killed the battery too, and but that was kind of a fun one. There's so many moments I'm trying to think over, so many episodes, but that's the one that came to me, I guess.
I think I have one that's not spoilery, but I don't think. But the end of season 2, when Andreas throws Sprague out the window. Oh my! Holy crap! And then when Brenda said Sprig, and it was so guttural and from her core, to coin a phrase, I guess. But it was the culmination of so much relationship building up to that moment, and then to just and it's just so shocking. So yes, that one was one that tore me up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely have to go with when Sprig is talking with Anne about his parents. Oh my gosh, that was definitely probably the closest I've ever gotten to crying on behind the microphone before. And so yeah, I mean, I just remember working on getting that emotion, Eden helping me bring that emotion out, and I think it ended up going pretty well. But man, that just was pretty heart-wrenching, so yeah.
Okay, both of those moments made me cry. The one where Sprig flew out the window, and then the one that you just mentioned where he starts talking about his parents. Definitely those two moments, watching that because obviously I didn't hear you, record that or anything, so I watched it at home, and I was like, ah! So definitely those.
So hard because there's so many, and you guys have such great performances. I think one of my favorite ones is definitely in the cat sitting episode, the ending where Hop Pop is like, oh, I don't want to be in trouble, to Mr. Boon Choi, and he's like, yo, you take care of my family, or you took care of Anne when she was alone, and you will never be a guest to us, you'll always be family. And I was like, Mr. Boon Choi. That was it's a good one.
I think for me, when season 3 at the beginning, when Anne meets her mom, I think that was a super emotional one, because it's you can't really imagine what she must have been gone through, having her daughter away, just for such a long time. Yeah, I think that moment really hit hard for me.
Yeah, no, same. I agree. And for me, it was that little quiet moment right before they meet, and it's Anne's mom just in the kitchen by herself. And there's just kind of a sad loneliness to that, and that for some reason just really got me.
She was like, I still gotta make the biscuits.
Yeah.
Guys, Anna Akana is here, voice of Sasha. Anna, you wanna say hi?
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm late, but very Sasha fashion, I think.
Can you say what up, nerds?
What up, nerds?
All right, and then I have one more question for Matt. Without spoilers, what do you want to be people's biggest takeaway from Amphibia as a whole when it's all said and done?
That's a lot, man. I mean, my feeling will always be that it was the journey, not the destination. Do you know what I mean? Really, all I ever wanted to do was create this thing when you put all the little pieces together, you got this really great story and arc for specifically Anne and specifically the planters, and that to me, those little one-offs and those small moments that they have together, like that's the real story. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this is something that comes up a lot. You know, we've got an episodic show that has serial elements, but like for me, the story will always be these characters being together.
All right, now we're gonna do questions. How should we split up between the audience and the Twitch chat?
Do you want to do one audience, one Twitch?
Yeah, that works for me.
Cool.
I guess we just start with the Twitch chat since
Wait,
it's.
ask Anis.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What is your favorite look of Sasha's throughout the show?
Man, wish I could remember the handle of the girl who does the amazing cosplay on Instagram of Sasha, but her costume gets better, but it's like the battle armor, and she just made these like silicone mold swords with like bedazzled Sailor Moon jewels on them, and seeing it brought to life like on the 3D and seeing what the fans have really done with this character. I mean, I love playing someone who's blonde. I thought I was like, oh my God, finally, after years of this industry. But I just love seeing her in her battle armor, for sure.
That's at non-binary. Shout out!
Nothing weird. Okay, I think I'm gonna go this one. It's an interesting one. What is the reason behind your decision of making plot important episodes like Commander Anne and The Corn of the King 11 minutes instead of the full 22 minutes?
So it's an 11-minute show. You know what I mean? Like that's just the long and the short of it. No pun intended. But like anytime we do a 22-minute episode, I have to have a strong argument for it. You know what I mean? Like so it's and for The Corn of the King, I think Corn of the King ended up being like 12 minutes, you know what I mean, or 13 minutes or something. So there's a little push and pull in terms of, but like generally, I stay within those bounds. Do you know what I mean?
All right, then we can do one. You. I'm just you raised your hand first.
Are we doing like mics or are we just how should we?
We're all out of mics.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you're in the front, so you can. Yeah. The next person just use your outside.
Yeah.
Hi, it's such an honor to see all of you guys here. I wanted to ask, since this show is all about like getting lost and then finding yourself, I wanted to ask, what was the moment when you started working in your careers, whatever it is you do now, that you were like, this is what I want to do?
Great question. First of all, you're wearing a frog romper, and it's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. Give it to me now. No, I think I actually booked the very first audition I ever did was for a Sims 2 commercial. My Simlish was amazing. But I remember the first day on set, just being surrounded by the hustle and bustle of like filmmaking and fellow artists who were so wonderful and kind, and a table full of free snacks. I was just like, oh, this is my home, and this is where I want to be, and getting to play pretend and get outside of yourself. And finally, I think when you feel like an outsider for so long and you get to play someone outside of yourself and get praised for it, I was like, yes, finally the one thing in life that has always felt like a hindrance is now the thing I get to do for fun and get paid for.
Me? Okay, well, I mean, yeah, right now, because for the last 6 years, I've been doing YouTube content, as you guys know, talking about the cartoons. And that was the thing where definitely growing up, I always just loved talking about TV and media and the things I watched. And it was easy to do that at school, but it wasn't easy to do that at home just because my sister was older than me, so she was, interested in different things. My mom just, in general, does not care for animation. She wouldn't even watch Spider-Verse. Broke my heart. Yeah, I found, at first it was just like a cool outlet just to, talk about the things I was into. But then it took off in viewership, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I gotta do the YouTuber thing now. But the main thing that I always love telling people is that anything you love doing, you can turn into a job in any capacity. And I think the importance of being your own boss, or at least having your own agency to get out there and do the work that you want to do, and doing that for yourself is something that cannot be understated, especially within these past few years. I think we're definitely seeing a shift in people taking independence with their job and their projects, and I think that's how it should be done. And yeah, I mean, my biggest goal, I think, alongside any animation fan, would be having a cartoon. So
You'll get it.
Yeah. I'm hoping by the end of May there will be a certain video on the channel that'll go more into detail about that.
Goodness. Plug. I don't really know. For me, I guess specifically running a show, working with Brenda Song specifically with her on the pilot, our first recording session. I've never done it before. Never voice directed. Wrote this crummy script. You know what I mean? This to me was the moment when it all could have just like come crumbling down, and I was like, I'm a fraud and I can't do this. And she was so supportive, and it really stuck out to me, and I'll never forget it, that at the end of that record session, I really thought, okay, this is a job that I can do. She was really supportive.
So I've been acting since I was 7 years old.
Wait, can I embarrass you? Can I tell them that?
Sure.
Do you guys all know the Prince of Egypt really well?
Yeah.
Do you know? So Eden does, okay, so like there's an intro song and it's really sad with the mom and the baby, right? Eden does like the reprise version, like the little girl who's like, hush, little baby, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like funny, right? Like, that's her, man, it's crazy, right?
Yes, I'm young Miriam in The Prince of Egypt, which is my secret claim to fame, yes. Yeah, so I was doing it from a really young age, and I had this moment when I had to like choose it again, like as an adult. But it was Amphibia that really because this was my first show, like my own first show as a voice director was Amphibia, and I just love this show so much, and it was the first, so it was really the first, because I love performing, I really love it, but you're like dependent on like people to hire you, you know, and then you can only play the roles that you like, you know, are right for. And I loved on this show that I got to work with these incredible actors who are so brilliant, and like support them, and like, you know, like just provide them with the information that they needed in order to like do their best work, and just like getting to watch, like I get to like, you know, have a 4-hour Amphibia episode in my living room or whatever. It was just so, I just knew that if I could like get paid for something that I love to do, like to work with actors and to get to see them do this incredible work, that just seems like I should be paying for that experience.
Yeah, it really is one of the greatest jobs in the world when it works. It's difficult work because of the competition. There are so many great actors out there and so few jobs out there. I grew up in Kansas, and there was no outlet for anything theatrical. I loved movies, I loved cartoons, I loved just, you know, practicing voices around the house when I was a kid. And I went to University of Kansas, did theater, got my degree in journalism, and the closest thing to showbiz that I felt at that time I could do was radio. So I kicked around in radio stations for a number of years. I started stand-up comedy in Dallas for about 5 years in the mid-'80s before getting up the guts to come to Hollywood and giving it my all to try it in Hollywood, because at that time it was all negativity and no, you can't do that, no one does that, no, the odds are so much against you and everything. But I just had to do it. You just have to follow your dream, and as luck would have it, back in December of '86, I got the audition that changed my life, and that's for Goofy. So I started doing Goofy in January of '87, and have been doing it every time since then. And and you know, occasionally shows like this are a rare thing that come along once in a great while. A Goofy movie was a great thing for me when I was growing up. Oh, thanks. The worst things. And there are so few gems, but there are a few that come along, and they just fill my heart with just gratitude that people still let me do this after all this time.
We're going to put you out to pasture.
No, but I love doing it, and working with everyone, it really is, it taught me that yes, you can make your hobbies into your job if you just go for it. Don't worry what other people say, just follow your dreams, and it seems to work out.
Yeah, I mean, there's really a huge difference between on-camera work and voiceover work, and I've realized, especially whenever you're just behind a microphone rather than in front of a camera, you really are able to, at least in my experience, put your full emotion in it without having to worry about, what the camera's picking up and what other people are seeing. All they care about is just hearing your voice and that emotion that you can put into the character. But man, I remember since I was really little kid, I made this little movie called The Karate Cats, and it was and so that was the first time I started making little voices, and it was little cutout paper cats that I would voice and stuff. And man, but it wasn't until I had an audition for, I think it was called Duffy the Disney Bear, and that that was my first voiceover audition. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. I am in love with this. It was huge, and not having to worry about what the camera was picking up and being able to put my full emotion into my acting. So yeah.
Okay, so I think I was around 10 when I remember telling my mom this because, I had grown up dancing, actually. I did it competitively for about 11 years, and I loved performing, but there was always something where I was like, this isn't really for me. I knew that I wanted to do something artsy, something expressive, but dancing wasn't it. And then my mom and my aunt actually signed up for a acting class, and I was like, I want to go. So then I went up, I did a monologue, and then I remember telling my mom right after that, I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And my parents are like, you're 10, you don't know what you want to do yet, But I'm still here. And right after I graduated high school, I didn't know anybody out here. I didn't know anyone. I moved out on my own, got an apartment, got a dog, and I took a really big leap. And I mean, it hasn't failed me yet. And I feel like, this is what God put me on this earth to do, and I just love it.
You asked for when we knew we were what we wanted to do. I don't know. I feel like I grew up reading manga, watching anime. That was I learned how to read using manga too. I didn't know that was something that you could do as a job, but I knew that I just wanted to draw, and that was what was fun for me, and nobody ever told me to do it. It's something that I do myself. And when I was trying to figure out what to do for college, I was I have a lot of these things that I like to do, but drawing is the only thing that I would like to do, even if nobody else ever told me to do it. So I was like, what, if I have to work on something, it should be something that I won't ever get tired of, right? So that's what I decided to do.
For me, I've been doing background design throughout my career, and back at school I did major animation, but I didn't really know during school I'd be into background design. I think back then, as little I knew, character design was a lot cooler looking, background seemed just a place where the characters do their thing. But I was so lucky to have my first job to be season 2 of Gravity Falls. I'm so grateful for Ian Worrell and Alex Hirsch. I just learned through that first job of how much storytelling elements could be crammed into a background. It's the background alone could be such a great storytelling device on its own. And I think that was always been my drive throughout the career of just how could we use this as a tool to just tell fun, neat little stories through like background design? Yeah.
Yeah, mine was when I first watched Spirited Away when I was really young, 6. I was like, wow, you could create dragons and stuff, so cool. But yeah, so, and I like went to school for art, but like I kind of like jumped between stuff that I wanted to do. I never quite knew what exactly it was, and then I kind of fell into animation. It just felt right, and it just reminded me of that like first of like watching through where I'm like, wow, like I'm feeling a world here. Like, this is kind of awesome. So, yeah. And then, working on Amphibia, I think that really cemented it. Like, with season 2, working with our season 2 art directors, Phil Voss and Jacob Stryland, and how they kind of helped grow and foster this idea of team. I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. Like, this is it.
We got a lightning round, maybe. Yeah. We want to get as many, yeah.
Startees in the Twitch chat asks, what other cartoon shows have you tried to sneak into the show as Easter eggs only for them to have been cut?
To have them cut? Yeah. That's a spoiler. I mean, I'll talk about it later, but like there's definitely stuff where I was like, yeah, and they were like, no.
All right, from the audience, you with the, Matt, Blue Mask, yeah.
Yeah. And I was wondering what your favorite background gags were, or maybe what people might have missed that you really like.
Sanjay is a king of background gags. What he was just saying about little stories, this is it. So.
I don't know. I guess for me, I think the one that definitely sticks out to this day, it's like, I think Matt really liked the Walt Disney statue.
Yeah. In the Breakout Star.
Yeah.
Breakout Star. There's like a statue.
I remember like walking out the parking lot going home, and Matt just like, hey, I really like that Ant statue. So I was like, oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So I think that's the most memorable one.
Peak comedy, man. Peak comedy. Yeah, Frog Claire's. Yeah.
Rosalina the Dragon asks to Matt, if you could completely redo or replace one episode, which one would you choose and why?
You're not gonna get me with that?
All right, Green Mask. Yes.
What brought upon a decision for the scene where Andrew stabs Marcy in the back?
Can you specify? Do you mean like what? Like how did we get here? Or like what is it? What is it like?
I'm curious about how you guys decided this is gonna happen.
Well, so again, like I don't want to say like it used to be worse or anything like that, but I just mean that like we really wanted it to be this dramatic Boromir, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Star Wars moment. Do you know what I mean? It needed to have this kind of like epic gravity to it. And it was, to me, and by the way, I showed it to everyone, and we all talked about it. And we all talked about like, is this too much? Is it too crazy? You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. And like Disney SMP was like, yeah, do it. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just saying that like, we arrived at this kind of, imagery together, and that like it was in search of this kind of romantic, epic story feel.
Yeah, I have a question about that moment. From a character's perspective, did Andreas stab Marcy because when Leaf stole the box, he was chasing her with his sword, and he kind of had like a flashback? Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. There's just a lot of spoiler questions I have to go past.
Let's do another.
Yeah. Michelle.
Bill, can you sing Welcome to Amphibia in Hop's voice for us?
Okay, welcome, man. Do you know the song? Oh, God.
That's the weird video. It's on my YouTube, but that's really you.
If I sing a little for you, would you be able to do it?
Yeah. Let me just give it a shot here.
Now I find myself in the wild unknown.
Now I find myself in the wild. What? I know some of the words, not all of them.
I don't know that I even remember that with the frogs and toads and I'm on my own. But there's something here to discuss. I don't know. One leap after another.
I thought it was an instrumental.
It is, Bill. This is like a
I
deep
know.
cut.
Oh, I
This is a
know.
deep cut.
I know.
We'll get
I've
it.
heard
We'll get it one
Yeah,
day.
I'll work on that. Next time.
Question for Matt. What piece of Amphibia merch do you want to see be made from Peppermint 5116 in the Twitch chat?
I was like, I don't know this company, Peppermint 5. I don't know what you're talking about. Always action figures, man. I just got a detachable breastplate. Cool, you know? Just like, oh man, an android or whatever, you know.
What was the inspiration behind Woggle's smolification?
I don't know, man. I
his
think
diet.
it was like the most shocking thing. It was, and you know, he had the wood statue in Hop Pop's Cane, like 102. That's like the production code. Did you have thoughts on that?
No, well, I just remember that when Sprigg was in Loggle's shop, there was the statue of Loggle. And I love your line in that. It says, we're going to talk about this. I'm coming back. We're going to talk about this.
We're gonna talk about this, buddy.
I love that so much. Justin, you were like, okay, bye-bye. You know, I get the end. Okay, let's talk about it. And now, I guess it's so funny because like he's swole and they're not talking about it.
Smash Trish in the Twitch chat asks, what was it like designing the Wartwood Resistance?
Kat, I mean, you did a lot of this work.
I feel like the board artists and Matt had like a really strong idea of what they wanted to look like, and a lot of the armor was based on like a lot of the armor that is already on the show, because they're like kind of grabbing things that are around and taking them from like the Toad armies. Is that is that kind of?
What's your opinion on Sasha's hair, Kat?
Sasha's
Long,
hair?
down. How are you feeling about that?
I like Sasha in every iteration, right?
All right. Anna, what do you think?
Yeah, do you like her hair down? I think I like her with the ponytail. I just got used to it after years and years and years of seeing her hair up. It's like, what was that Magic School Bus episode where she finally took out her pigtails, but her hair just stood up? That's what I always imagined Sasha would be like. Like, it's impossible to have her hair down.
Where's she gonna keep the daggers now?
I know. No, but if you like it, man, I like it too. But it's okay. You're the creator. You're God here.
If only the ponytail would come back.
All right, audience questions. White mask, blue shirt in the back. Yes, you, yeah.
Okay, so this question might be a little bit complex, but this is for Matt. I noticed that in your filmography, working on Gravity Falls is extremely not regarding its quality, but it's extremely focused on white male characters in the cast. And is there any type of paradigm shift or kind of like fictional culture shock you experience in writing Amphibia, which star two women of color in the main cast, and it's such a love letter to migrant communities?
Not culture shock per se, but you know, I was really happy to be doing it, and it was rewarding from my point of view, and for you know the members of our team who were also waiting for something like that. Yeah, you know, it's something I've always wanted to do. Super happy to do it. We'll continue to do it moving forward. You know what I mean? And I think. And I really just think that the answer is always just to give shows to diverse talent, and that's it, really.
Lavender Buds 2 in the Twitch chat asks, what was the inspiration for the color motifs?
For the what?
Color motifs, so like how Anne's blue, Sasha's pink, right? Marcy's green.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't know beyond the idea of like each girl was kind of like assigned a gem color, you know what I mean, like very early on. But you know, Sasha had like a red skirt, like a pink skirt, and Marcy had a green one, so that was obvious. But purple was always and is always like Anne's color. Yeah. Like, and I honestly don't have a great answer for you on why purple, but it felt like, you know, it was not really a color I saw like a whole lot at the time, you know what I mean? And I felt like she could really own it. And so like, she returns to purple and also bright yellow, you know what I mean? Like that's a thing. But like, after all that stuff was set, I think the team and I just tried to be consistent, you know?
Yeah, the purple's interesting because I saw a theory or interpretation that the purple on Anne was kind of representative of Sasha's influence on her, because you know she's blue.
Maybe subconsciously, that's really clever.
Yeah.
I wish I could say like, yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. In the back, black mask. Oh yeah, you. Yeah.
Yeah, so the entire story of Amphibia is so focused on the development changes between Anne and Sasha's relationship. I wanted to ask if there are any details between Marcy and Sasha's relationship that weren't included in the show.
That is a great question, and I feel like in the spin-off question, that would also be a great spin-off, you know what I mean? Like, I would love to see these three girls, like, before they got zapped to Amphibia and what those dynamics were like. Because of the decided focus on this being Anne's story, we didn't really, well, and again, I don't want to, you should wait. Just hold that thought. We'll talk.
Femme Refrigerator asks, to Matt, does Sasha have a favorite food insect? And does anyone in the crew like insects? I like locusts.
That reminds me of that video of that kid who's like, I like turtles. You know? Wow, that's really specific. I feel like Sasha could probably deal with spiders and arachnids because they're very close to crab and shellfish. I feel like she could stomach it. And as for me, you know, I don't know that I've ever actually eaten insects before, other than like those goofy lollipops you get with like the stuff in them, but that, you know, you didn't even taste it. Oh, well, that's not true. I think I actually have eaten like crickets and stuff, and like deep fried, and at that point it could be a fish, it could be a cricket, I mean, I don't know, it could be anything. So yeah, that's it.
All right, you blue mask, yeah. Oh no, oh sorry, the behind you blue mask, yeah. Yeah.
It is Bessie the snail. I think we all love Bessie so much. Like oh my God, that snail, man. Like, oh man, I wish I could make a joke about like the finale, but I can't. I've always wanted to do like an episode where like Bessie like spoke, you know what I mean? Like you know, whether someone was tripping or not, I don't know. But like, just like that would have been so funny, and D. Bradley Baker is amazing. He's does all the purring and the cooing for Bessie, and yeah, absolutely. You should do the person who thought it was them. What's your question? Yeah. That's a great question, and I feel like I know what you're kind of inching towards, and that is that yes, the ancient newts it's very much an imperialist thing. You know what I mean? Like there's no question about it. Like, and we had lots of really good discussions about the core and the king, where like, you know, and this is everyone who's seen the episode has picked up on this. Leaf and Beryl, real big sweethearts, had no problem with kind of the status quo of conquering, and it was just so baked into who they were and what they did. And I remember we had lots of debates at the writing stage of like, well, someone here in this like frog invading empire that's like taking over different dimensions, they've got to know this is wrong, right? And I was like, dude, I don't think that's how people like, you know, the imperialists were thinking. I don't think like people back home, you know, ain't like way back then were kind of like I think this is really wrong what we're doing in different countries, and you know what I mean, and like taking the resources. And I feel like the Amphibia ancient society was very much based on that stuff. And I think that just for me, you know, the Thai stuff, it was just so important that it was very specific, you know what I mean? Like the Thai temple they go to in season 3, it's based on Wat Thai LA, which is here in LA, and you should totally visit because it's awesome, and they have like food on the weekends. It's just such a great place, and it literally looks just like that background that's like way in the back right there, so please go check it out.
All right, we have about 5 more minutes. All right, Noodly in the Twitch chat asked Bill to say, "Grime, I love you," in his hot pop voice.
Grime, I love you. Yeah, it came out weird, I know.
But I feel like that's how Hop Up would say it.
That's how he would say it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of the way that some of the big moments in Amphibia have referenced shonen like Dragon Ball was really fun for me. But the way that the show handles gender has been really refreshing. So I guess I was really curious, particularly for Anne and like Anne's transformation. How early on was that set up? And were there any discussions around gender in terms of referencing shonen with these girl beings?
That's a really great question. And I think I did see a comment when True Colors came out that was like, wow, I've never seen like a female character get roided out like this. You know what I mean? And really lean into the rage of it all. You know what I mean? And I do think that like Dragon Ball, like huge inspiration, but also like Miyazaki films, huge inspiration for me. And those always had these, you know, really dynamic female protagonists. And so like, honestly, I really didn't think about it too much, that when like Anne was going like Super Saiyan and kicking ass, I wasn't like, you know, to me it was just natural, you know what I mean? Like I didn't think about her gender while we were doing it. I was just like, this will be awesome and right for the character. And I'm so pleased though, because, you know, I wasn't even aware really myself that there hadn't been a lead female character in too much shonen media that was really doing that. You know what I mean? Their powers came from something else, or you know what I mean? Or the moment played very differently, but it was never Super Saiyan 2 Gohan for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Anne's one of the few Disney TVA protagonists in general who has like punched someone in the face this early. Like Jake Long never punched anyone in the face.
She got him.
Octenor in the Twitch chat asks, what were your favorite improvised lines?
Oh man, Eden, do you have any thoughts on this? I do have one story though that Keith David once just started singing in the booth. Yes. It was beautiful, and like Eden sent it to me. Which one? No, it has not. Oh yeah.
Yes, okay. I mean, a lot of Whoopi's lines were ad-libbed, like a lot. I think at one point she's like, I don't even know how to say his name, Andreas, whatever, I don't even know. And it's because in the record she just couldn't. Like, it's different from what you might expect, and after a while she was just like, nope, not anymore. I'm not even gonna try. That's one that sticks out, but.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's not that improvised. The show, it's out of his brain, and the very talented writers. Like, I think a lot of what we're trying to do is just like I just imagine how Matt would say it, and how the board artists and the directors would say it, because I got to see the pitches and stuff like that, and like over the years of working on the show, like it has a cadence, it has a tempo, it has you know, reversals, it has Matt's brand of comedy, which is unique, and we're all just like living in this like projection from his brain, basically.
A lot of that too is our story editor Jack Ferriello had this he came from Home Movies, and Home Movies was brilliant and improv driven, and he drilled in a lot of those kind of patterns into me where it's just like a lot of interruptions, a lot of starts and stops. I will give you an example of some really choice improv that you can hear, which is that in the song Heart Stomper, which Anna sings, there was a bit where we were like, hey, can you like improv it and make it sound like you guys are actually playing together in a garage band? And I think you say something like, don't mess this up for me, guys. You know what I mean? And that was all improv. So there you go. There's some really cool stuff.
So we have time for one more question, and we're going to do it from the audience. Let's see. You. Yes.
That was like early in development of the show that got like completely reworked or like scrapped that you wanted to put in there that you didn't get to?
I mean, that's a great question. And like, you know, development is a process where, you know, you're all kind of looking for the show together. And what I started with was very crunchy, very dark, a lot more magic, a lot more like, and you were talking about like Hop Up. The reason why Hop Up was like, oh my God damn it, Anne, you can't do that, was because the world was so freaking dangerous. And also like the family lived out in the house, like in the middle of Zippity-Doo. Like there was nobody there. There was no cute town. You know what I mean? Like it was really dark. And I remember my reference point was always like the Rankin Bass Hobbit and like all this other stuff that like was just not interesting to kids or execs. You know what I mean? I was just like, I'm like, you know that old animated Hobbit? They're like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, what's a better reference point? The Dark Crystal? And they'll be like, oh God, no, Matt, come on. But it was really a much darker, and the color palette too was like brown. The whole thing was brown. And like, that's one thing that's like worth pointing out about like any of this, like development, your project changes. I'll tell you right here, this is the best version of this show we could have ever made. It's the best version, and I'm so proud of the team that put it together and made it, and it's really like, I don't look back on like that early version and be like, what could have been? Because honestly, that was like a one-season show. Do you know what I mean? Like that thing, it would have been like, you know, really dark and epic and very short, and I really imagined it as something very over the garden wall-y, because I was like, I had that on the brain. I was just like, yeah, short and sweet, like that's it, man, just punchy. But like, I love this. And if you look around the room, you'll see this entire journey and like how beautiful and how colorful the world is and how much the characters have grown. And that's only possible because of like the time that we've had, so. Oh, can I give some thank yous? Can I give some very quick acknowledgements. Thank you so much, TVA, for sponsoring this. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for Ben and Gallery Nucleus.
Thank you.
For doing this, absolutely. Thank you so much. If you work on the show, can you please stand up and just wave or something? Just stand up, make yourself known. They're incredible people, and just nice besides, like, so please go talk to them. They'll love it. And then I also wanted to thank Dana Terrace, who kind of hooked us up in the first place with this. I'm very grateful. I really appreciate it. And then lastly, I want to thank you guys, the fans. Thank you so much for coming out. Thanks for being here. And everyone who's online too, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Oh damn, wait, those posters, please don't tweet them until like next week. If you can. If you already did, like, yeah, what are you gonna do? But like, please don't. They got light spoilers in them. If you could refrain, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. 1 week.
All right. Okay, so